office. I don't remember any of it. So I'm saying to you, in a split second, anything can. So for me, again, that became for me like, oh, that could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
I've never been a violent person.
How many times I told you? 3 second rule.
Yes.
You would do something in 3 seconds that you'll pay for
The
forever.
rest of your life.
And it's
Yeah.
one of the things we teach. It's one of the things that I teach in the prison. I ask them to count backwards from 10 to give them a fighting chance. Because you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10. Okay. But to count backwards, you have to think a little bit hard. It causes you to have, your brain has to do something different a little bit, and to give you a little bit more room. And I've had some people tell me, oh no, the 10 didn't work. I said, well, to count backwards from 20 then. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But you got to give yourself a chance so that you don't do something that ultimately can cause you to spend the rest of your life in prison. And because I was so young, I didn't know. You know what I mean? But I can tell you this. Since then, if I even think you might take me there, I'll cut your ass off.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm running
cut
for
your
the
ass
border.
Well, I'll tell
I'm
you,
running for the border.
I'll tell you something. When I was, by the time I was 16, that 3 seconds, I knew what it was about. Because I did things in 3 seconds that, like you talking about, you sat there for 8 hours. I'd sat there maybe 3 seconds, you know, and I'm not proud of it. Don't get me right, you know, but I always knew that 3 seconds is where I'm going to change. You know, things are going to change. It's like when I used to go rob bars.
Mm-hmm.
I'd sit there with the napkin and rub the beer bottle because I don't want my prints on it. I'd get those little butterflies in the stomach.
Uh-huh.
And then, excuse my language, I would say, fuck it, and the gun come out, and anything after that is
What it was.
live. Yeah.
Is what it was.
You know, and I did it like it was a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I told you I never got married, because I always knew I was going to be on the run. You know, that I always knew who I was.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And so that leads to a very, very, very important thing. Knowing who you are. Really knowing who you are, but even more important, being honest about it.
Yeah.
Because see, like I told you, the one thing I was really impressed in your book, you were totally honest about where you wasn't right. You didn't try to make yourself out to be, oh, totally blameless. I never did anything and all this, you know, no, and woe is me and the world just hates me. Oh, no, it wasn't that. You didn't say that, but it's because you know who you are. When you acknowledge your own insecurities, when you acknowledge your own faults, then you can be helped. And guess what? You're not getting help from somebody else. You're going to get help from in here.
Yeah.
You're going to get help from a higher power because now he can deal with you. And that's why he sent you to that. He wouldn't let you go about going to that Mormon church service, right? And even now, like you say, you don't know if he turned you around. Oh, yeah, he turned you around because you're sitting here with me.
Well, you know what? I done so many things in prison. You know, the only thing I know that I did right while I was in prison, I stopped 3 killings. But I had to explain to him that you kill him, I'm killing you.
So you explained it.
Yeah, and it's the only way I used to know how to do things.
Well,
but I'm thinking he put me there to stop those.
Right.
But the other ones that I'm not claiming.
Right.
You hear that?
Right. Yeah, the ones, the other ones that you know about.
Yeah, I'm just saying he must have not cared about them.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is the thing.
Thank you.
Right. This is the thing.
I don't know what to say.
When he died on the cross, I will say it this way. There are things that he is not for, right? There are things that he ain't gonna get involved in, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't nowhere.
Listen, no, you know, I think I was telling you last week, the creator I serve is a G.
A gangster.
He a straight G.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
He a straight, he a rider.
triple
He's not the soft Billy Bob.
Yes, not at all.
yeah, he
If
took
you
the
want
whole
my
world.
thing, no, honey, he went in there flipping the money tables and shit, and cussing their asses out. Yes, he did. Yeah, and his boys was riders. Let's be clear. You see what I'm saying? Don't look the sword. Get up, sling that sword. Don't play with me. The thing of it is that he wasn't playing. I told you last week. I said, look, when Moses came down out of that mountain and found out they had built a golden calf after he had brought them up out of bondage, and he freed their ass, and he brought. Let me tell you what he told them: grind it up and make them drink it.
Right.
Okay. He told them, look, we're gonna anybody that had anything to do with it, let the earth swallow their ass up. They listen. This was punishment on demand. Don't play with me. This was not. Can we talk to you? Because we like to, see maybe if we can help you to. Because we really like for you to be okay. And, we want to understand why it is that you, what? No, grind it up, make them drink it right now.
Right.
Okay? And look, cold part is, in my experience, if he tell me to do something and I don't do it, he tap that ass.
Tear you up.
Tap that ass.
You get some whooping that
Ooh,
nobody can get.
And I know a whole lot of that, but I can tell you from here, it don't like being whooped on.
Oh,
For real, right?
it is.
So I know, I can just tell you, I just feel like people have this concept that this is, that Yahweh, who I worship in the name of, that somehow he's some little weakling or something like that, and he's just all nice and no, he was like I say, he went in to the temple and was fucking with the church's money.
Yeah.
He was fucking with the
I
church's
can't tell you
money.
that. Look, she fucking.
I'm just saying, you don't mess with the church's money.
You really don't go.
No, see, and look, and wait, and I want y'all to know the church people out there listening know what I'm talking about. Don't try to play with me like I'm being funny, because I'm not trying to be funny. Yes.
He didn't take a nickel of it.
Not near dime of it, not none of it.
He had his own, he worked. He was a carpenter himself. He had a job. He was an entrepreneur and his boys.
How about that?
They had, don't give me started.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. So let's be clear about who we talking about and who it is that we serving, if we serving, or who we oppose if we opposing.
Think of your own father. That's what I think. He will whoop your ass.
And love you nonetheless.
Right.
And protect you and provide for you nonetheless.
Yeah.
And tell
But
you
he will
tap that ass. He will
He
smite
said
that
smite.
ass. He
I
will
love when he
smite
say
you.
smite.
He gonna smite you. And he do. And I'm gonna just tell you this. So let's be clear about what it is that we're talking about, so that we don't get it confused.
Right.
And that because I will say this. I have, and this is really, I'm sincere when I say this. I have had so many people. I know a lot of felons. Okay. And a lot of them have been called to ministry. And they run. But they run because they have a concept of what that means. They don't understand that who he wants you to serve, he prepared them to receive you as you are. He prepared them to receive you, whether you in a suit or whether you in Tim's and some jeans. You see what I'm saying? People run from it, and I want to encourage you. Serve where he would have you to serve. You just said it.
Let me tell you.
Wait, before I just want to finish the sentence. You believe wholeheartedly, and I believe you're right, that those 3 people that you saved their lives, you were put in that place at that moment for that reason.
Yep.
So, and he knew it long before you ever got there. You see what I'm saying? So I want you, but go ahead, what was your thought?
You know how my church is about smoking and drinking.
Oh,
and
yes.
tearing up. I mean,
That his church does not believe in that, and he can't be in the temple of the church
because I ain't changing.
because he's not going to stop with his occasional beer, and he's not going to stop smoking.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Anyhow, this is a little town, right? I mean, not a big town. They needed a bishop. And the people who assigned it, the people that was going to that little church, they seen nobody in there that they thought was bishop material. So they go to this guy's house and knock on his door. He answers the thing, he's smoking, he's got a can of beer in his hand. And they looked at him and he said, yeah, you know, what can I do for you? And they said, well, we're trying to find a bishop. And he said, yeah, well, why are you here?
Why are you here talking to me?
So they asked him, they said, we checked the tithing thing. You have not missed a tithing. You don't go to church.
But you tithe.
But you tithe. You give your 10%. And they said, why? Because he said it belongs to the Lord. They made him the bishop. Over a year or so, he quit smoking and drinking. And they said he's one of the best bishops that they've ever found.
So let me say this. Okay. And they're going, and this conversation is being spirit led because I just have to go where it goes. So I need y'all out there to bear with me, okay? But I was taught that those things that happen in the Bible and those things, it was never about your physical body. It was never about you smoking cigarettes. It was never about you drinking. It wasn't even about sex. It was about those things from a spiritual standpoint. And what happens is in the physical, because whatever happened, Yahweh doesn't change. And so whatever you saw, whatever happened in heaven is going to repeat itself in the earth plane. And so you will see it, okay? So people have created these rules about smoking and drinking as if that somehow makes you holy. I can tell you this, just like for you, right, in your personal experience, those people that society would have you believe were the worst of all people in the world, those people did for you when your own natural family didn't do for you. They cared for you, they protected you when your own family didn't do that. They loved you in a Christian, quote unquote, Christian way when your own family didn't do that. When the church may not have done that, may not, if you had walked in, Cola, if you had walked in the church with your blood banging ass, can you imagine in the 1990s?
They was in shock. That's how I came in.
You see what I'm saying? So what would they have done? So the thing of it is that I was just taught that, and I believe that it's never about what you're doing with your physical body. It is more about what's in you and how you treat people and how you respond to people and where are you of service to people. It is really not about smoking and drinking and carrying on. Because let me tell you something. No matter what, in all the time you spent in prison, which was the bulk of your life, you still saved 3 other people. You did a service, and guess what? I'm sure nobody asked you to go do that. You did it, you was motivated to do that. You was led to do it for one reason or another. So I say that to say this. You weren't, you know what? I want to go home, so I'm gonna go over here and save this person's life. That was not what happened. You did it because it was the right thing to do. And I'm telling you, the way you have treated me from the day I met you has been more Christian than most Christians I know. Okay? So I'm saying that I want everybody to understand it is really, really, really important. And I never had any intention of having this discussion with you guys this way, and certainly not tonight. But I want you to know this. If you are called to ministry, don't run.
You know why?
Don't run, because what happens is that the people that need you are prepared to receive you right as you are. Go as you are, serve whoever you can.
Yeah, I just worry about you whooping my ass. That's so.
You worried about me whooping on you? Well, don't worry about it. You safe with me. I got you. I'm gonna keep loving on you. I'm not gonna whoop on you. Go ahead.
Say this real quick.
And wait, before you do it though, I want everybody jump in wherever you feel. Okay, I just want you to know how we flow. Just jump in.
You made a valuable point when you said about the drinking and the smoking. Because if you think about Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King had a dream, but the dream came from God.
Yes.
And he showed him some things. So he still was in connection with God, even though he had an addiction to cigarettes. So he still fulfilled the call upon his life.
Yes.
So that's why things was able to break up with the nationalities and
yes,
the coming together and things like that and stuff. So I just wanted to say that too. It's very important that no matter what God called you to do, it may be big, it may be small. I don't care. I was wearing my khaki suit, my khakis or my burgundy house slippers, sometimes black, my Pendletons. I was still going to church. I was going to, it took me almost a year, but I was still going. They put me in a choir so they could keep up with me and watch me. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And so I'm there singing, couldn't sing. They put me in the back, but they loved me because they wanted to grab a hold to me. It wasn't evangelist.
Right.
It was Erica and Tina, Mary them before they was Mary.
Oh, wow.
Their dad is the one trained me in preaching privately. First time I put a mic in my hand at South Park.
Wow.
Park we grew up in, playing, fighting, and shooting up. Yeah, so
right,
time,
right.
But to God be the glory. So I wanted to say, make sure that no matter what your call is, like she said, you must fulfill the call. I don't care what color is your hair, what color your teeth, but you gotta all do it through God. Like she said, Yahweh, I'll say the Spirit of the living God. Make sure He reigning through you, He lead and He guide you. And that's what I did. When I was in the shelter, the Lord led me to go set up healing and deliverance service. So I was going from shelter to shelter, setting up deliverance service while waiting on Section 8. But then I met Noreen and she gave me a place. So while I was about my father's business,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? He was handling my business.
That's right.
So I was still doing hair and I was still pushing. You know, I still had ups and downs and trials and tribulations, but it was because the enemy was trying to snatch me back. And I didn't know that. You know, people tell you get saved, you feel all good, not knowing you got an enemy. The devil wants your back. So you got to keep pushing. So I encourage you, no matter who you are, how young, how old, especially gangsters, you are, and I don't want to say this, but gangsters, we are so intelligent.
Yes.
In our different ways, with education and without. We have so much discerning. God has put so much in us that people wouldn't even imagine. We are natural born entrepreneurs. We are natural born leaders.
Leaders, yes.
We're teachers in whatever type of way. So I encourage you, don't do it the church way. You have to do it God's way. So I just want to say
yes, and that's really important because the other side of that is, and I've seen this too many times, if you don't, nothing else you do is going to be as successful. Nothing. That's so hard to say, but it's true.
I just got it at 52.
See, and I've watched people have their life spiral out of control because they wouldn't heed the call.
You know, my mother, when we were little, she, you know, because we talked about different lands, and you know, people have different religions, and you know, but they're all praying to God, the God that they know.
Right.
My mother told me one time, and I ain't never forgot it. She says, if you were brought up believing that light right there is God, and all your life you did good because of that light. When you get up there and you meet God, God sees what's here.
That's right.
That's right.
Not the spirit. Not what religion you are in, you know, because I don't think my religion's any better than anybody else's. But I would get some hellacious arguments out of church.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
oh, absolutely.
But I would
Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research that raised me up, child. Oh yeah, they will tell you in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, you don't know nothing. You ain't right, and this and that because you. But guess what? But the funny thing to me about that is the aims of the school and the way the school is set up. They will tell you we aim to prove to you what we're talking about. And that everything, the universe is operating according to a pattern. And listen to this, and absolutely nothing escapes the pattern, which is true, right? But then you're gonna turn around and tell me, well, them doing what they doing is off the pattern and it's not so. You see what I'm saying? So how is it wherever, because everything, you can make anything line up, like most lies have a little bit of truth in them. They're the ones that are successful. It's because there's a little bit of substance of truth in them. And so, of course, people can take what they see and pervert it for their own thing, like the smoking and drinking and all that kind of stuff. That was to try to control people's behavior. That really wasn't about anything spiritual at all. Because again, he's not concerned with your physical body. He's not, that's not what he's concerned with. And even most religions tell you about your soul, some version of the soul or whatever. And that soul is what he's after, what he's communicating with. And that is what he's interested in.
This is a shell.
It's just a shell. It is a shell.
That's the way I look at it.
It is.
People say, you know, and I tell them, if I die tomorrow, it would not bother me that much. It really wouldn't.
Yeah.
But could I read that Bible? No. But I can tell you pretty much a lot what's in it. You know, that I
learned along the way.
Right. So I remember in a meeting one time they were talking about how they were before they believed in God. And they were going around and it got to me. And I told them straight up, you know, I've always believed in God. I've never had a doubt in my mind that there is a God.
Right.
Hell, when I used to run away from home, I used to pray to God that they wouldn't whoop my ass
when you got back.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I remember the first time I drank white lightning. I was in the backyard throwing up and praying to God, let me make it there in the morning. And I'm gonna do all this stuff. What you don't do. You know, I bet you.
Oh yeah, no. The promises of a vomiting drunk, don't ever believe it. Because a vomiting drunk will promise God anything.
Right.
Oh, if you just let me get through this, I'll never do this again. Till the next time.
Right. Like
if you and listen, that's any addiction. Right. If you just get me through this, I promise you, I won't. Just don't let me die. I'm gonna do right. I promise you. I'm gonna serve the poor. A vomiting drunk.
I'm gonna pay my tithing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my God. It's just so much. So, like I said, the promises of a vomiting drunk. Don't you believe it? But he never does it because he never required it in the first place.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Required money.
He never required the money. Listen, let me tell you this. So what I know, the Bible is there were ages and dispensations where one thing didn't apply in every age or dispensation. Before the cross, there was a tithe, and it was started to help with the priesthood. Okay, Levitical priesthood, because the Levitical priesthood did not have an inheritance. All the other tribes had land inheritance. Okay, the Levitical priesthood didn't have land inheritance, so they were tithed so that they could take care of them. But after the cross, not only did he die, buried, and was resurrected. We just had Easter, and I had to tell somebody, okay, don't leave me just in the resurrection, because he went back and to heaven
Sat on the right hand.
and sat on the right hand, and then came to their Pentecost and poured out his spirit on all flesh. That's where he picked me up at.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born yet, but that's where it became relevant to me. And that is where, so now that I no longer have to go through the priesthood or anybody else to know him, I can have a direct relationship. He required everything. So if you throwing, and that doesn't mean your money.
Right.
It doesn't mean money.
Money.
He was never talking about money. He was never talking about money to begin with. Like I said, he wasn't talking about cigarettes and drinking and all that. He wasn't never talking about your money either. The money that was in there was to take care of the priesthood because they didn't have no inheritance.
That part.
But the churches, in fact, there's a church that I went to, and the pastor is been preaching. He's a very well-known pastor all over the country.
Okay.
Awesome preacher, awesome teacher, which I like. I came up in a Bible study school, so I prefer a teacher than a preacher. Like, I don't like the hooping and all that kind of stuff. Miss me with the pomp and circumstance in the show. I don't like that. Just teach me something. And I can hear the same stories told over and over and over again, and it still inspired me the same way. But anyway, this pastor is great preacher, great teacher. But he is, oh God dang it, the thought just left me just that fast. Why was I talking about him? Oh my goodness, I hate when that happens, y'all. I'm old, okay?
Right, because we were talking about ties.
Oh, so he went on a vacation, and one of his deacons, his associate pastor actually, took over Bible study. And I used to not go to the service on Sunday because I don't like the choir stuff. I don't like none of that. I don't want to hear y'all announcements. I'm not getting on none of y'all usher boards. I'm not doing none of y'all ministries. I'm not doing none of that. I already know I'm not. I may not come here every week, but I would go. I started going to Bible study every week because I like the teaching. Well, his associate pastor started conducting Bible study, and everything he started every week, it was about how you're supposed to be tithing and how they're supposed to be taking care of the pastor. The pastor ain't even saying this. He's saying this. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and y'all know I stopped going, right?
Right.
I stopped going because I don't want to hear that. Don't and stay out my damn pockets.
Right.
Because see, them same churches, you know what I'm saying? Stay out my pockets. But them same churches, will tell you could be a member. I know people been members of churches for years, and a family member died, or they died, and they got to pay the church to have a funeral service there. See, this is me. I'm not.
Mama Tutu been there umpteen years from when you started,
and she always tied.
Yeah.
But guess what, Mama Tutu?
And bring them what is that called? Banana pudding.
Hello, yes, honey.
Chocolate.
And okay, every week, okay. So they see, but now the thing of it is, and listen, I know of a situation where a woman had been tithing to a church for 30 years, got sick like them last 5 years, couldn't be there, couldn't tithe. And when it was time to bury her, they told her family no, because she had stopped paying her tithes. Right. There's nothing Christian about that. There's nothing spiritual about that. And so I'm just a big believer that all of this has always been about spiritual things. This is not about the physical. Now, listen, I will tell you this is the other thing, the man that raised me spiritually. He's my spiritual father. He's passed on, but one of the things he used to say was, because I tell you that he's never interested in your body physically, don't ever think that gives you a license to act any old kind of way.
Right. So
he was never talking about physical adultery. He was talking about he's your husband, man, in the spirit, and you worshiping anything other than him is spiritual adultery. That's what he's concerned about. Mm-hmm. He said, however, I would not advise you to mess with that woman's husband, because you might have to answer to her. Mm-hmm. You may not have to answer to Yahweh about that, but you might have to answer to her. So there is a level of what you do when you are a spiritual person, that there are things you won't do in the physical realm because it's not worth it to you in the spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say that again. As a spiritual person, there are things that you will not do in the physical realm because it's not worth it to you in the spiritual realm. I tend to, if he tells me to give me an assignment, tell me to do something, and I don't do it, I pay very quickly. And it could be very severe. Man. So I have a tendency to be my big focus. There's a scripture that says obedience is better than a sacrifice. Yes. What does that mean? He would rather your obedience. They used to offer up bullocks and doves and all of those things and burn sacrifices and things to cleanse them of their sins. Well, I was born in a time after he removed sin out of the way. And so I'm not worried about that. Right. What I need to be worried about is what I'm doing spiritually. When he give me an assignment, I have to do that assignment. I'm obligated. Otherwise, I pay a price for that. Why? Because I know. I know. He allows me to know him. And I take that very seriously. People can say whatever they want, but I'm going to do what he tells me to do, because these little arms is too short to be boxing with homie. See, he the big homie, and he ain't, like I told y'all, he ain't no Millie Mouth, and he ain't playing. And so I know that I'm obligated to do those things that he tells me. Sometimes I have to tell people things they don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And it's not fun. It's not nice. Ooh, and then it's awful. Ooh, it's like, it makes it some. I'm like, ooh, I gotta tell him that.
You don't even like me around.
You know what I'm saying? And he be like, you heard what I said. Be like, all right, okay, I guess I'll go tell him. You know what I mean? Because I don't have no choice. And I'm gonna give you an example. I had to tell a lady the other day, her son went to prison and got beat really, really, really bad by the COs. And I believe he has a brain injury. So he's acting weird, but he's hallucinating sometimes. He's constantly fighting things like, she said they were in a car the other day and he was fighting Nipsey Hussle. Well, Nipsey Hussle been dead, right? So this is what's going on. But she said his knuckles are all beat up because he'll fight the walls and different things.
Is that the one that turned over the fire hydrant or something?
So he will fight these things. It might be, come to think of it, because that person knows, so it might be, sweetie. Let me not say no. I don't know for sure, but I don't know that story. Yeah. So anyway, I'm talking to his mother and she says to me, I hear these stories, I know these stories, I know of people where their children have killed them. And this is what she said. She said, and I can easily see me being one of those people based on what's going on and where he is. And I said, well, you're going to have to choose you or him. Okay. But that wasn't, that Yahweh didn't let me go at that. I was like, ooh, so all that night, he was plaguing me. I had to call her back.
You understand? I
had to call her the next day. And I said, listen, this is what he put on my heart to ask you. Do you believe in him? Do you believe in God? Because if you believe in God, and she talks about God all the time, if you believe in God, what you got to do is you got to turn your son over to God, not the streets. But she was like, so what? Do I just put my son out in the street? And so she's crying hysterically and take a chance that somebody's going to kill him. But if you believe in God, and you're not turning them over to the streets, you turn them over in your prayers to God.
To God.
You don't think God, so what you're saying is you could do a better job than God. And you don't even know that's what you're saying. You saying you more powerful than God. You could protect him better than God. And I had to tell her, I said, listen, he wouldn't let me go. I got to share this with you because this is what he told me to tell you. If you believe in him, release your son to him. And if you don't, you may very well, the reason he put it on your heart and mind that you may become a victim of your own child is because you may very well. He literally is that mentally disturbed. So, but can you imagine, this is not a close friend of mine. This is a lady I do business with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
And I gotta tell her what? I gotta tell her to let her, you need to put your son out.
Right.
He don't have nowhere to go. It don't matter. Either you're gonna put him out or you might end up dead.
Yeah.
What? You see what I'm saying? So there's so many times where I'm obligated to tell the truth. It's not a fun position to be in. I don't get no joy out of it, other than the fact, that's even a better word, no glory in it. I don't glory in telling people hurtful things about themselves and things that they're not going to want to hear. I don't glory in that. It's very hurtful, and more often than not, I know less about what it is than it will mean. Whatever he tells me to say means more to them than it does to me.
Right.
They get more out of the conversation or the phrase or whatever, however he gives it to me, than I do. But I'm obligated to say it because if I don't, their blood is on my head. And I can't carry all of that. So I'm just saying, like, there's so many times where we are called to ministry. I have started a Bible study school, a branch of a Bible study school, and all that. I've been licensed since I was 26 years old. I've been a licensed minister since I was 26. I don't go around telling everybody about it because it's not necessary. What I would hope is that my walk would let my light shine, that my walk would indicate who I serve and how I'm getting down. I would hope that when you see me, you see a light that's of him, right? But I can't take glory for none of that. And I just want everybody to be encouraged. It's just so amazing to me that this conversation went this way this evening, because literally, I infuse my knowledge, and I want to give all the credit for whatever knowledge you think I impart to you every week. I got to give him the glory. Don't look at me. He's real. The one I serve is real. I can only tell you that. I don't know what you're doing, who you talking about, who you hooked up with. But me and my big homie, he is a real thing. And he got a power, and he had the ability to raise me out of my own ignorance, the things that I had imposed upon myself. And that's how I know that healing is possible.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. But the one thing I know is that it's an inside job.
Yeah.
I got to start with me. I cannot heal from what you did to me looking at you. I gotta heal looking at me.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where, if there's going to be healing in my life, this right here is where it's going to take place.
Yeah.
And I also have to be honest with myself about what's in me. So I will say, whatever my insecurities or whatever, I can give you one. My stomach. I hate my stomach. Whatever, right? But if somebody says something to me and they say, and I think they looking at my stomach, right? They probably weren't even looking at my damn stomach. You see what I'm saying? So, oh well, she was. But if I'm honest with myself, well, why was she looking at my stomach like that? And she didn't have to. But this kind of stuff that when you have an insecurity, say try to come in. And I don't even like using Satan because it makes it seem like it's some devil with a pitchfork, and that's some bullshit. But what I do know is that opposition energy will try to make me try to use whatever it can to get at me, to make me deny the power of Yahweh that's already in me. See, it's going to try to make me deny that I already know. But what I want to say about it most importantly though is that I have to know that it's my insecurity. It's not you looking at me. You wasn't even thinking about my damn stomach. You just happened to be, it just looked like you was looking at me, and you happened to be somewhere else wrapped up in a thought that didn't have nothing to do with me, and damn sure didn't have nothing to do with my stomach because you didn't care nothing about it. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I know about me. And I just had to think of, like, what kind of insecurities and stuff do I have? Well, that would be one of them, right? So I can't put on you what I'm insecure about. Right. I can't filter what you say and do based on my insecurities. And if I have done that, I need to think to myself, well, and these are the kinds of questions I ask myself. Why does that bother you? Why are you offended by whatever just happened? Whatever this is. Because then I start, okay, well then why are you offended by that then? Or why this? And then I start peeling back the layers of me, not the other person. And then I can get to whether it was a real offense, whether you really offended me, or whether it was just my own insecurity and my own life experiences that got me believing that you somehow offended. But you wanted to say something.
I was going in the unit one day, and it was a young girl, an older lady, and me. The young girl opened the door and went in, and the door closed. And the lady said she couldn't at least help the door open for us. And I said, well, we don't even know where she at. What if she called home this morning and somewhere the kid is, and she thinking about it, she ain't even in prison.
Right.
And that's when the people get offended for like you said, for little things. And that's, we don't know another person's story. Right. We don't know what they're going through. People in prison got a lot going on and stuff. People out here got a lot going on.
For sure. And things are moving. And like I say, it could be, well, why is she looking at me like that? Like, it could look like I'm looking at you, but I'm really looking at something beyond you. Okay. Right? And I'm not thinking about you at all. And now you're offended. And so I had to start asking myself these questions. If I find myself offended by something, why are you offended? Well, what's the deal with that? What is it that offends you? So that I can then turn around and do the right thing. Because listen, if I peel back the layers, and I find, no, that's not me, that's some real offensive shit, then I deal with that accordingly.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I deal with the offense accordingly, and sometimes my best response to an offense is to do nothing.
Right.
Okay, now, I told you guys that the hardest thing I ever learned to do was to do nothing.
Yeah, I just learned that.
Well, you know, I can't,
I'm still trying to.
I can't go to Sunday school.
No?
No, because there's too many people in a closed space.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I told the bishop, I said, you know, I'm sorry, but I can't go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think I've been out 5 years, I would, some of this crap would go away, but it don't.
But see, the thing of it is, when you think about how long you were away, and now, you know, okay, so 5 years, that sound like, to somebody might sound like a long time, but that was inbred. There were things that happened that it wasn't safe for you to be in that. Yes. Speak up, so you're gonna have to speak, because you know you don't have no voice. Well, you come over here, stand up and come over here so they can hear you, honey, with your sweet little soft voice. They would think that it went away. He can't be in a place with a whole lot of people. And we're talking about what he said. Oh, because I was saying to him,
People staring at you.
yeah, you would think, and you can't. Okay, that's all right. And you're not even nearly as old as me, sugar.
I know. Poor woman.
It can happen though, but it'll come back. It'll come back. And so, you know, we haven't even scratched the surface of what, you know, those things that, because I really want to talk a lot too about your book. Okay. And the healing, you know, because, and then, so all total, what do you think? How long you say you think you did in prison total?
I did 18 months. I was sentenced to 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And they gave me half time.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's crazy, just real quick, while I was in there, the Lord showed me a dream of my brother dying, and he died that night.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we read that, and so, yeah, that's crazy, so, yeah. And I was supposed to got 6 years, and thank God I was an informer, so, because I wasn't my drugs, I was still guilty. I mean, I didn't make the sale, but I was still guilty. So, you know how that goes.
And the thing of it is that anybody could be okay. This is something I want people to realize. If you're a loved one and you've never been incarcerated, or you're somebody who just happened to stumble upon this conversation, you may be able to say to yourself or guarantee that you would never commit a crime, but you can't guarantee that you would never be convicted of one.
Right. That's good. You have to say that again.
You can probably, and I bite my tongue to say this, guarantee that you would never commit a crime, but you can never guarantee that you won't be convicted of one.
Mostly if you're poor.
Particularly if you're poor, especially if you're poor, especially if you're poor, because the system is not designed to work for everybody. I want people to realize one of the reasons that there's so much pushback to prison reform is because the system is working exactly like they intended it to work, for exactly who they intended it to work for. It's working for them.
It makes money.
It makes money. You cannot be enslaved except for as punishment for a crime.
Yeah.
That is the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And that's the language in the amendment that allowed them to end slavery in the United States. Well, guess what happened? As soon as that happened, every behavior of Black people became punishable. And then it was because then there was the overseers, right? Which were poor white people that became in charge, and then they became criminalized too. See, because now their behavior, that only difference. The thing of it is that now, and it's all about economics now. You could see it. Let me tell you something. Hi, Shauna. Thanks for joining us. So even if what they do is they use poor people for labor. for cheap labor in the prisons. They make money off of their labor. And that's what it is. And we have to acknowledge that. But know this, the system is never going to fix itself
Right.
because it's working exactly like they intended it to work, for who they intended it to work for.
If the public honestly knew what was happening in prison, they wouldn't support it.
Right. They would ask
But
for it to be closed down.
It's like when a person goes,
Now everything on social media, everybody got a camera, everybody, you
Mhm,
can't get nothing, you can't do nothing without being on camera now.
mhm.
So a lot of stuff is starting to get broadcast in prison, but it's only for that specific person though, it's not for to save everybody.
Right.
It's for to help that person, they make a GoFundMe only for that person because they're struggling in prison.
Right.
So what about everybody else?
yeah,
They got
they're
GoFundMe.
they're gonna, I had a lawyer
That you can't pay.
and he said less than 30 words during my whole trial.
Mhm.
I mean, a whole double murder trial. He said less than 30 words. When I told the judge, I finally got tired of it. I should have,
Thanks,
They
baby.
putting them
I
out.
should have socked him.
Mhm.
Then I might have got a new lawyer.
Okay.
Right.
But when I told the judge, this guy will not ask a question in my behalf.
Mhm.
You know what this judge said?
Mm.
He says, I won't stop this trial because it was in Compton. It was during election time.
Ah.
And you get very few white individuals
Mhm. Coming through that court.
for felonies.
Mhm.
He says, but I'll give you 2 lawyers for your robbery cases.
As
Yeah.
if that's a trade-off where they can receive me
Right.
way
Yeah.
for life, but you gonna give me double me up for.
But
Okay, this is not. We're not bartering
I used
here.
to go in the boot camp
Okay.
after the, you go into court all the time. And blacks would say, that white son of a so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. You know me, right? I had a black judge.
Mhm.
So when I get found guilty, I went in that boot camp and I said,
It's
that
black
black son of a bitch did this to me. You should have seen people's eyes just
Okay.
open. You know, that
Ain't he a mess? Ain't he funny? I'm telling you.
I was trying to hold it in for the camera, but I
You know.
wonder was she saying her brain? I wish I could just hear what her
Okay.
thoughts were.
but I just, I knew I was gonna get shafted.
Okay.
That there was no doubt in my mind I wouldn't get in a fair trial.
Right.
Cause I figured I was gonna get 5, 6, or 11 manslaughter.
Right.
I mean, I killed them. And, I never denied that.
Right.
Was he black or white?
They were both white
Oh wow. They
down
gave
in
you time.
Paramount.
30, what, 30-something? They gave you life, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they gave him life.
What?
And he did 38,
36.
36 on it.
For 2 bodies?
36 on
Well,
it. And
one died right away because I blew his heart out. And the other one, he ran and I got him in the neck and it took him a little while to die.
Oh,
Right.
God.
Mhm.
But
I'm sorry for that.
No, but
there ain't nothing.
listen, at this point, it is what it is. And it's like, and this is
But
there.
every time I went to the board, and I went to the board like 12, 13 times,
Dang.
I told the truth.
Mhm.
And every time they told me you were lying so-and-so, and then they picked up that card and read off the reasons that they denied me, and it was just like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
When I finally got in a wheelchair, my tongue hanging out the side of my mouth, and the lady decided that I couldn't work for him no more.
Mhm.
She gave me a date and she says, Mr. Pike, I believe you. And I looked at her and I said, why? She says, because in all the time you've been down, you have never once changed your statement.
And I want people to, and I need to stop it right there, and because we're on land, but I want to say this about it, is that people don't realize that it is the same board. When they say when you go before the board, it's the same people.
Yep.
Year in and year out. I think there's only 8 in total that serve on that board in the state of California.
Yeah, they
For
rotate.
state
They
stuff.
rotate from prison to prison.
Yes, and so it's the same people. I was astonished when I realized that. So what happens is those same people see you year in and year out. And so that's why they were able to tell him, she was able to tell him, I believe you because you never changed your story. But think about this. He just said he went 12 or 13 times. He never changed. So, okay, so when was it that you realized, was it the 13th time that it finally clicked on you that he never changed his story? I'm talking about to her, right?
Yeah.
So when did it click to you that he was telling the truth because he never changed his story? He didn't change it on story 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 7, year 8. When did it kick in, homegirl? I'm trying to find out when I'm gonna tell you when it kicked in. When he could no longer do plumbing for them for free. Okay, whatever. It was the highest you could make in a prison. I mean, you was big time balling, okay, in terms of how much you was making. You was making 95 cents?
I was making $58 a month.
$58 a month. And he was balling, big balling, shot calling for his work. $58 a month. I want to say that again. $58 a month. He was big balling, shot calling because he was doing what they charge $58 an hour for out on the street. And he did it in all these institutions, okay? And so it was once they knew that he could no longer physically do that, is really why they let you out.
Yeah.
And like you said, you went in there specifically in a wheelchair with your tongue hanging out your mouth because you knew that was part of the game.
And you know what my lawyer told me? You know that 5 minutes that they tell you to leave while they make up their mind?
Mm-hmm.
This dump truck lawyer I got, she tells me, he gives me thumbs up, and I told her, you think I got a date? And she said, oh no, but I think you only got a 3-year denial.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I looked at her like, you can kiss my royal ass.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that's what I was gonna get, a 3-year denial, you know. I went to the board one time, I'll tell you how stupid I am.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to all these jailhouse lawyers talking about that 3-judge panel that they came up with to help the prisoners. And I was convinced that they were going to kick my ass out. So I go to the board and they go around at the beginning of your thing and you're the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I don't give a shit what you say. That 3-judge panel is going to kick my ass out of here.
Wow.
So the chairman tells me, he says, well, I'm going to let you know that this hearing is now over. So I see the same guy 3 years later, right? Because he gave me a 3-year denial. And I told him, I said, I guess I shouldn't have said that. And
I guess not.
That's what he said. I guess not.
And just imagine, I want people for a split second to think about that in context. These same people, 3 years later, 5-year denial, 1-year denial, all these same people keep coming back and hearing the same things over and over. And they determine whether you can or whether you can't get a
and
date.
they convince people who's been saying they're not guilty to say they're guilty
Because
they can get a date, and then they turn around and tell them, well, we knew you killed them,
right.
and we ain't giving you a date. And then they changed the law. When I first went in, the max you could get was 5 years, and you really had to have some reason for that 5-year denial.
Mm-hmm.
When I left, they could give you a 15-year denial, and that's as much as the judge gave me in the first place.
Now think about, again, these same people, the small number of people who have the determining, well, it certainly is a big role to play in whether or not somebody is found suitable to be released from prison. That is a lot of power for a group of about 7 to 8 folks, okay? And of course, the governors have, the final say so or whatever, which, for example,
The first
Leslie Van
three-
Houten.
The first 3
Leslie
months
Van
of
Houten,
board-
she was wait 1 second, she was a Manson
three
girl.
months of government.
Okay, she was one of the Manson girls. She was one of the youngest ones.
Right. I remember.
And so she has been found suitable on multiple occasions. And the governors continue to deny her release. This woman went into prison as an 18-year-old, and she's gotta be in her 70s now. And I can tell you from teaching in that prison, she's been a model prisoner. Now listen to this, Cola. She was in there all this time, and she's never had a 115.
Right. That's the
Never.
one stay by herself. She don't deal with nobody.
Yep. A 115. You know how hard you can get a 115 in a prison. A 115 is a write-up for some violation.
You can look at them wrong.
And you can do anything. It could be a bad attitude, whatever it is, you can get a 115. Leslie has never had a 115 in over 50 years in prison. Okay. So, and one of the things I found with her, in my own experience, was that she tried to help some of the other inmates, some of the younger inmates coming in, during the time that I was in the prison teaching, and really should have been released by now. But because of the political nature of her case,
Because of that friggin'
the actor, she was an actress, and then the
Right.
director, and all that kind of stuff. And so the governors,
Soldiers.
oh,
They'll come.
okay, and so they don't want to let her out. The governors don't want to be the one to let her out. They don't want that, especially if they're going to run for office again, because this was supposed to be so heinous now. And I'm not downplaying what happened. I'm just saying that heinous crimes happen everywhere.
Right.
Most crimes, most murders are heinous. The fact that somebody died tells you it's heinous.
Right.
Okay. But this was a child. She 18 years old. They can tell us now that you are not fully developed psychologically, at least until 25. But yet you can tell me that a mistake or something she got involved in as a 16, 17-year-old makes her never fit to walk the streets ever again in life. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And so, but I know that America has become addicted to incarceration, literally, and punishment. You want to say something?
When I was in Danbury, I met a woman. Her and her 3 sons are doing life. She's when I got to Waseca, Minnesota, and they were bringing all the women to a prison. She came and she used to say to me, "Cheryl, I bet they'll kill me if they let my son go. I would die." One of her sons just died in December, but her youngest son, he was 14 when the crime happened. His mother and them, they did something, and so they kept him, of course, till he was 18, and they said that's his life. And he's been a model prisoner, and he, I think they cut his time down to 67 years the first time. I think it's cut down to 47.
Now, mind you, this is a 14. This person was dealing with their mama.
And that's what made me think of it when you said, I say to people, what was he supposed to do? He was there. That's his mother. He don't know what they're doing. He just there because that's his mother. That's his family. So what?
And at 14, you're telling me that's why they ended like LWOP for kids that young. You know what I mean? Because there's no way you can convince me that a child that young has the mental capacity to understand all of the implications. That's something you said earlier made me want to say this too, is that oftentimes people think I'm willing to suffer the consequences, but you have no idea all of the consequences that are going, where the ripples go, how far out they go,
And how long?
and how long they last. We just don't know that. So it's important. Again, there's no way for you to know all of the implications of what it is. So give yourself that 3-second rule. right? Give yourself that 3 seconds. Give yourself a fighting chance. Be honest with yourself. But we're gonna land for tonight. We're gonna end for tonight because we've had a great discussion. But I want to go around and give my in-person audience any last comments for you. Nothing.
I was saying this morning meditation to the women, and I think yesterday also, you have to, what you're saying, sometimes you count to 10, you're saying count backwards, sometimes you count to 3. Someone says it doesn't work for them. I say, you think about whatever it is, the choice you're about to make, you're going to suffer the consequences for whatever it is. Take the time to say, okay, if I go sell this dope, what's going to happen to my kids if I get arrested?
Please stop and think about that.
Yeah.
At least stop and think about that.
Yeah, but it's a lot to think about.
It is.
If I do it, then, okay, I go to prison for 5 years with my kids. What if my mom died? She got
That part.
What if this? I mean, if you really think and keep thinking, maybe you're going to change your choice altogether and say it's a bad choice. This is not the best choice for me.
Let me tell you, I had a experience the other day, last week sometime, or no, whatever the last day we had where it was raining really hard, okay? And I hear what I think is a bunch of screaming outside, and I don't know whether, and I stop and I listen, and it stopped. Then it starts up again. And I'm going, no, that's really somebody, that's some screaming. So let me check on my neighbor. So I go to the window, and I can see directly out the window, and I see a young girl, a young lady. I would venture to say she's probably in her early 30s at the most. She has no shoes on. There are people standing, about 3 people standing on the porch in front of the door to the house. Mm-hmm. There's a lady standing here. Then there's a guy that is trying to get her off of the property. She runs away from him. She tries to get into the window of the house. Whatever was going on, she wanted to get to whoever was in that house. And everybody was trying to prevent her from getting in the house. And all I kept thinking is, I want to go outside and say to her, whatever you're enraged about right now is not going to feel that big of a deal when you serve in time in prison. Or whatever you want to do when you go in that house. Whatever you're doing right now, the ramifications, the consequences, the effects, the domino effect of all the people, whatever's going on, is not going to feel like that big of a deal. Because I'm talking about this girl was barefoot. She was walking over, like their yard didn't have nice grass and stuff. Oh no, their yard got all kinds of tree roots and stuff in it. And so this is hard surface, and it's raining, it's cold outside. The guy gets her off the porch. She's trying to get, I'm like, and you're doing all this with no shoes on. And again, I understand rage, but I just wanted to go outside and say to her, baby, it's not going to be worth it. What you would have to experience and the consequences wouldn't be worth it. So it really does pay to think about what that is. You said you had no closing thoughts or anything that stuck out to you might be useful to you on your way when you go forward. From tonight's discussion, anything stuck out to you?
Yeah, one of the things stuck out, and it's real quick, when you were talking about how we've been judged if you smoke, if you drink, if you do certain things. And I just want to say it took me, when I got saved in 92, after I got out of jail in 91, I got saved in 92, I still was wearing the clothes. So I still had to look, I had to talk, I had to walk. But my heart had changed. But then I was still smoking cigarettes until 2001. But God took it from me because I was powerless over it. So I still sung in the choir. I did certain things. Some things they didn't let me do because I still had the outward thing of where the church, I'm not supposed to do it.
Right.
But I was just always real with myself. So the Lord, I took it to the Lord that I was tired. So I know people say crack drugs. I wasn't on that, but the cigarettes was worse than anything to get delivered from. And so he took that. So I want to leave people with this: is that I spoke at one of my homeboys' funeral, Baby Up, and I was real upset about his death. They said he fell out, he had smoked something, did something, whatever had happened. So I cried out to the Lord about his spirit, his soul. What happened? God, did he have a chance to say forgive me or whatever it was? And the Lord dropped in my spirit the beggar and the rich man, and how the beggar laid at the gate daily begging. But the rich man, when the beggar died, the Bible said the beggar went to heaven. He didn't say the preacher, he didn't say the pastor, he said the beggar, that the one that the dog licked his sores
That's right.
at the gate daily. But the rich man, the one had everything, and I said that maybe he was a pastor, maybe he was, you know, just using my emphasis, that the Bible said when he died, he went to hell. So I just want to make sure that we know that no matter what you're going through, what happened to you, you must forgive and have to understand, quit judging people. Don't let people judge you.
That's right.
Keep you in the box. You know,
That's
just
right.
stay focused on what you're supposed to be doing. That's getting better within yourself. Even though the beggar was begging, evidently he had a good heart.
That's right.
He had something going on, because that's what the Lord weighs, your spirit, he weighs your heart.
Yes.
So I want to leave that with people, because I'm working on that now. I'm evangelist, I'm licensed. I eulogize a lot of Bloods, a lot of gang members. My daughter-in-law just eulogized her last year. I think it was last year. Left me 3 grandbabies. She died in Crystal. And so that's hard for me. I have a son that was on Crystal, but he in prison, and he just called and threatened me. So, you know, you got to be careful. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so, but at the end of the day, I just thank God for this interview.
Yes.
I want to say counseling session
Yeah,
also. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to take it home with me and work on some things, because I've been praying, say, God, send somebody for me. Send somebody for me. Everybody comes to me.
Yes.
Send somebody for me. I've been having so much betrayal, so much backstabbing, and I can't do nothing. I can't cuss them out. I can't say nothing. Only thing I can do is still hug them, and I go home and I cry. I release it. I have to, but I'm still wounded too.
Yes.
I got things going on. So I just thank God. I see now that I'm gonna let go of that protecting thing.
Yeah.
Because God is the protector.
Yes, he is.
So
And he's
I'm gonna
been
have to
protecting
put,
you.
so I'm gonna have to put it in its perspective.
Yeah.
I can't run to every call.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
my gosh.
every issue. And so
Yes.
I'm gonna take care of me. I'm gonna go home tonight, and I'm gonna straighten up and just kick back. I'm gonna do me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So
And I'm
thank
so
you.
glad. I'm so glad that you're here. And I just want to say to everybody, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and
I'm
YouTube.
gonna have a beer.
And so he's going to go have a beer. I'm going to go home to my grandchildren's children who are actually visiting until tomorrow. I just want to thank everybody for watching us. I encourage you, share the conversation with those people that you know that might need it. Have them subscribe to the YouTube channel so that they can see and get the healing. Because remember, this, it feels like counseling, because that is our motivation, is to heal. It's not just to get together and tell war stories about prison.
Right.
Shit, it's enough TV shows. Go, you know what I'm saying? If you think this is some, you know, some entertainment and shit, we're not here for entertainment. Now look, we laughed tonight because he funny as hell.
Yeah, we have
Because
fun.
he funny as hell.
Yeah.
Right?
But
And
real.
But real.
But real.
And look, so yes, we're not above having fun or whatever, but I just want everybody to take the time to share the information with somebody else. And for me, the thing that stuck out that is just really screaming at me is, again, to reiterate, if you have a calling, if you're called to ministry, and you feel like he's calling you and speaking to you, do what he says. Don't worry about how you dress, whether you smoke, whether you drink, whatever. Just do what he asks you to do. And I'm, just being totally transparent, because I still smoke my weed. Let me tell you, I smoke my weed because, you know what? I need to sleep at night. Okay. And so I just want y'all to know, y'all can judge me or whatever, y'all can stop watching or whatever. But the reality is just, because I can't be fake with y'all. I can't sit up here and all that kind of stuff. And that's not why I'm telling you that it didn't have nothing to do it. Because when I came into the Bible study school, I stopped smoking weed for years, okay? And if Yahweh told me today, I need you to stop that, I would stop it. I can tell you there have been times where I thought that somebody else might stumble and fall from it, and I wouldn't do it in front of them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I know how to, right, that's word, that's book. I can deal with that, but I'm saying that to y'all to say, I can't be fake with you. I don't want you to think that I'm above you or beneath you. I just need you to, I'm just going to be transparent. And so I thank you for joining us. I thank you for watching. And again, please leave comments in the comment section. If there are questions you have, let us know so that we can address those questions and those issues as you come forward. And I just want to again, thank you and have a good night.
Good night.
You have never brought up the thing with the